Hello and welcome to the WorldSkills UK Transferring Global Best Practice series in partnership with NCFE. I'm here today with Steve Williams to talk about and share international insights which have been gained throughout his experience developing excellence in young people in electronics for WorldSkills competitions. Later, we'll also hear from Arthur Ziliani, the expert from WorldSkills Brazil, who talks about the importance of the WorldSkills standards and how they bring together industry and global best practice. Now, Steve has worked in the industry across several electronics sectors, including consumer electronics and industrial electronics. He's worked in further education for 37 years creating. So it really is a pleasure to have you in the studio. Thank you very much for joining me. And my first question really is, what does excellence look like in your skill of electronics?
Okay, so electronics is a really broad discipline. There's a lot of very key elements in there. So an electronics engineer, student needs to be excellent in all of those areas. So I'd just like, if I could, to take you through a quick journey of what that looks like. And that journey starts with analog electronics, which is the key to everything. Without analog, we can't have the other elements that will follow on. So a great example would be a student would have to be really excellent at creating a power supply to make sure it was regulated, stable, and efficient. If it's not, everything that comes after would not function correctly. So we then move into the digital area of electronics, which is again its own specialist theme. But the world is digital today, and our current cohort of learners and our students really need to be on it with their digital skills. They have to be able to create the next big thing, whatever that may be. So I really am quite excited when we bring the analog and the digital together into potentially a project which would then have embedded systems in it. And the embedded systems is the coding aspect. So the three core elements of these skills to be excellent in would be analog, would be digital, and would be embedded systems. All of these, of course, have to be realized and have to be built into possibly a prototype of the next big idea, whatever that may be. So the skills that these electronic students will have to have need to be very innovative as well to come up with these new innovative designs. However, when something goes wrong, they need to be able to have the skill set to put that right and to be able to not panic under pressure, get that problem solved efficiently and quickly. So it's really very important that their fault-finding skills are there as well, and their sort of problem-solving, the methodologies they're using are very important, that they, as I said earlier, they can work under pressure.
Absolutely. So analog, digital, third one?
Embedded systems.
Embedded systems,
yes.
And problem solving. They're your four.
Yeah, they're the four big ones. Yeah. And once they've got those and they're excellent at them, guess what? They're excellent. So that's
Yes.
really important. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we're aiming for to achieve excellence. But are there any skills that you found to be weak or missing in students or apprentices when they join the WorldSkills UK Squad Development Programme?
Yes, there are. Those skills are fundamentally the soldering skills needed, because lots of electronics training is done through simulation. So there are some tremendous software packages out there where you can do simulated teaching of electronics, which has a place. However, we must not lose sight of the real skill, the skills needed to solder to a very, very fine pitch. So there's those sorts of skills that really need to be reinforced in FE.
Okay, well, we're now going to have a quick video in which Arthur, the expert from WorldSkills Brazil, who is going to talk about the importance of the WorldSkills standards and how they bring together industry and global best practice. So let's take a look and hear from Arthur.
Hello, my name is Arthur Ziliani. I'm a teacher at Senai São Paulo and currently the electronics expert from Brazil in the WorldSkills competition. My skill has a very vast technological area with high quality regional standards, with some differences between each other. For this reason, in WorldSkills competition, the international communities of experts seeks to establish a competition quality reference based on a mixture of regional standards and the exchange of experiences. This ranges from how a solder joint on a SMT component should look to what the best angle a track on a printed circuit board should be. Of course, this specific sometimes makes the standards of excellence very difficult to be achieved, but not impossible. Since the WorldSkills competition aims to perform tasks with reduced time and has high quality standards, I need to work with the training teams to develop techniques and procedures to be capable of meeting these needs and enabling our competitors to be highly competitive. My experience at WorldSkills as a competitor, where I was responsible for executing the techniques added to it, my current role as an expert and coach in Brazil provides me with wide background for my classes. It is also worth mentioning that the WorldSkills transcends the sphere of professionals. The change that it provides goes beyond the professional, because the contact with other cultures and different countries where I've been allows me to promote discussions, give better examples, and improve the class quality based on methodologies I've learned. Today, through all this, I'm able to help prepare skilled works in my country with high world-class excellence standards levels.
Well, it's great to hear from Arthur there and to get that international insight as well. So, next question. What fundamental differences do you implement into your teaching and training to help drive high performance?
Okay, so it's a holistic approach to the training. And listening to what Arthur said earlier is really sort of resonates with the international electronics training community. So training that I'm doing now with all of my students from day one at induction, they need to know what the goals are. They need to know what they're aiming for. So we use some of the fantastic resources that we have at our disposal for WorldSkills UK, videos, these sorts of things, to motivate the young people from day one. It's really, really important that they know what they're aiming for, otherwise they're going to miss. So they need to know where they're going, what they're doing. So we set things like the WorldSkills standard specification into the core curriculum. Now, as educators, everybody will know what a scheme of work is about and all the implications involved with that. But the WorldSkills standards is an amazing scheme of work, and it naturally blends into what we're trying to achieve. So in all sessions that I'm doing now, I make sure the students clearly see where that fits. The other really important thing is to set a good training plan in place for them, and they need to take ownership of that training plan and bring their own efforts into that training plan as well. Coupled with that, a really strong skills matrix is used, and what that allows them to do is to look at where their skills are. We would get them to, for example, in one of their first ever sessions, set up a workstation. That workstation we set up, we will time them doing that, and that will become their personal best. We've now got a personal best to work on, to improve, and that transcends right the way throughout the whole of the learning program. So whatever we're doing, whether it's soldering to the pitch that Arthur was referring to earlier with the very small surface mount components, that level of skill needs to be captured, measured, and monitored. And all of this feeds back into when you have your students with you and you're doing tutorials with them. It's really interesting to talk about those sorts of gains. Also, and this is my favourite part of teaching really, would be us using a project-based learning. So we would use a project which will bring in what I mentioned earlier, the analog, the digital, the coding, all of those into one example. Not only have they got to design those three things, they also have to learn how to bring it all together and build it and test it. And the real fun begins when it doesn't work, because you're then looking at a situation where they need to be able to fault find on that product when it doesn't come on, when it doesn't sort of re-execute the program that you're running. So that is really very important to them. And one other thing that I really am totally passionate about is the competition world, because when we are training people to be the best that they can be, the best version of themselves, we really need to make sure they are gauging themselves against other countries, other competitors, their classmates, because that competitive edge will follow them into employment, and that really needs to be there for employment. It's so vital that they become the finished article, as we say.
Yes, and as you mentioned, competitive edge is so important, and some great steps there, some really good action points for viewers to think about and implement into teaching. So thank you very much for that. And that's all we have time for here today. But to find out more about the Centre of Excellence, please do visit the website for more information, where you'll find resources to help implement some of the key points and good practices into your teaching and training. So that's it from us here in the studio. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.